Sorry, guys, I'm running about a little late, about a day late and a dollar short here for Baseball Biz. And we're going to take a look at a few things today, including the Lake Mary baseball team who just achieved World Championship of the Little League. And if you didn't see that happening in Williamsport, you missed out on a lot. So it's probably still out there in a few different places where you can watch it. Welcome to Baseball Biz on Deck. I am Mark Carbon, your host, and it's only me this week. I tell you what, I'm running a little late. I had a bit of a bug earlier this week. I think all the kids going back to school may have had something to do with that. And anyway, what we're going to talk about today is another RaysUp edition of Baseball Biz on Deck, and it's been busy. The good news is, after 10 games on the road, the Tampa Bay Rays are returning tonight, Friday night, to the Trop. It has been an interesting last 10 games on the East Coast. Let's take a look at some of this, shall we? Let's see. 10 games. We started out with the Oakland A's with 4 games. Went up splitting that series. Then what did we do after that? We went ahead and we set up with the Dodgers. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about Dodgers and Ohtani in a moment. But we only took 1 of 3 there, so we lost that series. And then we were a little tired, so we said, what the heck, let's go on up to Seattle. We'll play the Mariners for a few games and visit some old friends. We took 1 out of 3 there. So there you go, boys and girls. It was 4 out of 10 games that the Rays walked away with. Let's try to find some of the excitement of this past week. I'll say again, one thing is the Lake Mary Little League up there just north of Orlando. They won the Little League World Series this past week. And not talking about just against all the USA teams, but also against the international team as well. So what did this last week look like? Okay, I'm not going to dig into the Oakland A's game. I'm sure a lot of you may have enjoyed it, but I didn't, and it's so far back in history, I don't even want to think about it anymore. But we will talk about what happened with some of the games with the Dodgers and a couple of games with the Mariners as well. So if we look back at, one, we're in their territory, and that means something. But also think about this team. They are ranked 5th as far as spend when it comes to payroll across all of MLB. And I got a question. I think maybe it's a little higher than that, but that's some of the numbers I was pulling up from Sports Track. If we look who's on that team, I mean, you got Shohei Ohtani, you got Freddie Freeman, you got Mookie Betts, and there's Will Smith and many more I'm not even thinking of at the moment. But we'll talk about what happened, because on Friday, when we played the Dodgers, we took a loss 3-7. And, it was an interesting game. It started out with the Dodgers putting Bobby Miller on the mound. And you know what? Junior Caminero, still mostly a freshly minted rookie, I guess, if you will. He played a little bit last year, but probably not enough to matter. Junior came up and he hit his first home run for the season. And if you could hear the crack of that bat, oh, man. And so when Bobby Miller threw that ball across the plate, Junior Caminero hit that and that was 100 miles per hour when that ball was coming at him, and bam, it went out. It was amazing to watch.
Wow.
Maybe that's why.
That was loud.
Then Tyler Alexander was pitching for the Rays in the bottom half of the first. So who's he facing? Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. 1, 2, 3. Boom. End of inning. Things are looking pretty good, And then by the time we get to the 3rd inning, let's talk about a little more fun with the Rays. Junior Caminero has a double. Chris Morell, after him, hits a 2-run home run, bringing Junior in. And man, that was probably most of the excitement we were going to enjoy for that particular game. By the 5th inning, at the bottom of the 5th, it was a little different. Kike Hernandez comes up and he hits a 3-run home run against the Rays. And the bottom of the 9th, There's a hit by pitch by Will Smith. Oh, gosh. The bases are loaded. And who comes up with those bases loaded? None other than Shohei Ohtani. And this is going to be one momentous moment because as Shohei comes up on this particular hit, it is a home run. It is a grand slam. It is a walk-off, and it is his 40th home run of the year. And he matched that up with the 40 stolen bases he's had for this year, and it is amazing. He's only one of a few who've got the 40-40. And if we look across, see, historically, recently, I guess you could say 2023, you had Acuna Jr. get it. See, Alfonso Soriano in 2006. A-Rod in 1998. Boy, yeah, I'm aging that man quickly. Barry Bonds in 1996 and Jose Canseco in 1988. After seeing all that Shohei Ohtani achieved at the plate, it begs the question, will the Dodgers ever put him back on the mound? I mean, why would you? Wouldn't you want this guy every game that you could? Have your DH there. Have him just killing it every time. I mean, he's already now, I think, since this game, and this was a week ago, I know Ohtani has hit at least 2 more home runs. And that home run in and of itself has a little story. I mean, the ball is going all the way out there, and there's Siri's out there in the outfield, and he's reaching in it, and the ball just goes up. It's way too high for him. It kind of hits up there in the first row of the seats, and a couple of fans kind of go at the ball. Neither one really catch it, and it bobbles its way back down to the field. Jose Siri picks up this ball, this 40-40 ball, this walk-off home run with Shohei Ohtani, and he casually pitches it back into the stands, probably thinking he's giving the fan a souvenir. And what a souvenir it would be. So Jose may not have actually realized the legendary moment of that ball, but the fans did. And they scrambled for it, and one guy put it underneath his foot to hide it from others, but they were never able to get someone up to authenticate the ball. So that fan, with that ball, with that 40-40 ball, he now has a baseball worth, I don't know, $24.95. Is that what it costs at Dick's? No, that kind of gives you an idea of those momentous moments. Of course, Ohtani, being the great guy he is, simply said, well, yeah, it'd been nice, I guess, he had that ball. But he wasn't really interested in that so much as what he was able to do for that team. Another note on Ohtani while we're here. Think about this. You want to commemorate having a great player like that on your team. So they gave out a bobblehead earlier this year. Well, also this particular week, they gave out another bobblehead on Ohtani, and it is a golden bobblehead with a decoy. And you say, a decoy, Mark? What are you talking about? Ohtani. It's a golden statue of Ohtani. And decoy is this little dog. So there they are together. And boy, did fans come out for that. But I guess in so many cases, it was limited edition. So you had to get there early. And, you want to fill the stadiums. That's the way to do it. Of course, if you're the Dodgers, you should be filling the stadium anyway. I think it was about a midweek game during that. So Decoy and Ohtani, they took the field, and Decoy got the ceremonial first pitch that day. It looked pretty daggone good. He ran it right up there to the catcher's. That was his owner, Mr. Ohtani himself. So, can you ever say enough about Ohtani on a RaysUp show? Probably, and I probably just did, but there you have it. Let's jump to the Saturday game of that series where Kershaw was up, and he pitched for 7 innings, 5 strikeouts, and let's see, 5 earned runs. Yeah. And at the same time, Taj Bradley was pitching for the Rays. He's pitched for 6 innings. He had 5 strikeouts and 5 earned runs. Whew. Well, after that, it was going to see what would happen when the Rays did indeed win this game. And after losing the first one of this series, they came back And a lot of the activity came from Morell, Christopher Morell. He had a double bringing in Caballero. And then, let's see, Teo Hernandez in the bottom of the fourth. He brought in Lukey Betts with a 2-run home run. And in the ninth inning, Junior, Mr. Caminero himself, hit a home run, a 2-run home run. And the Rays took away the win with 9-8 score over the Dodgers. Well, guys, as long as you're out there on the West Coast, you might, and you've already been there with the A's and you've played with the Dodgers, and we're not going to go into the Sunday game. But I will say during this week also, Brandon Lau hit his record 500 hits. He recorded his 500th hit. So kudos to you, Mr. Brandon. So what happened with the Mariners? So we go up to the Mariners and we play 3 games there. We took one of the 3. And we started out Monday with a 5-2 win, which is always great. And that started out, let's see, with the top of the second inning. Josh Lowe hit a home run. If we look at the Mariners, Polanco hit a home run. But, the thing I wanted to give a little bit of attention to, when we came to visit, there was already some hubbub going on. There was always already a brouhaha. And that came in the form of their manager, Scott Cervais. Anyway, what happened is he had a moving day. They had basically moved him out. It was over. Sorry, Scott, your season really stinks. And the last several games, nothing really great's been happening, so we're going to have to replace you. So, you figure they call him into the office and they have a candid conversation, and the pleasantries are exchanged, or not so much. And then Mr. Cervais will go on his way. But it wasn't that simple. No. No, he didn't find out from that meeting. He had a meeting scheduled that morning, and while he's getting ready for his day, I guess he sees on the news something from Ken Rosenthal, who was the Athletic. So this is 90 minutes before his meeting with the president of baseball operations, Jerry DiPato. DiPato? Well, and lo and behold, he says, guess what? Mr. Rosenthal mentions that Scott no longer has a job. Well, that kind of hurts. One, that you lose your job, and one, the whole world knows about it before you've been told officially about it. This happens more times than I care to admit. And it just kind of, it stinks, people. Sucks on a lemon. But what happened after that? Did they hire Pedro Grifol? No, they did not. They did hire Jerry DiPato. No, they did hire Dan Wilson. He was a former catcher with the Mariners, and now he's their full-time manager. I mean, they said not just for this season, but for moving forward. That's what the front office said. So who is Dan Wilson? He had been a catcher with the Mariners for about 12 of his 14 years in Major League Baseball. And he also led the Mariners to 4 wins in their last 6 games. Now, as a manager, he also has led the Mariners to 4 wins in their last 6 games. And that gives him a winning percentage of 667. Yeah, that's a small sampling, 6 games. Come on, Bebo. But guess what? So far, there have been no ejections for Dan Wilson yet. So we'll see how that plays out. But when we got to the Mariners up here in Seattle, we were going to see some old friends up there. One, of course, one we've all missed, and that's Mr. Randy Land himself, Randy Arozarena. And how did he greet the Rays during the series? He greeted us with 2 home runs. Oh, gosh. Out of 28 games as a Mariner, Randy's only hit a total of 3 home runs. So he must have been saving these up for us. So it was probably less than Seattle expected, but I'm sure they were glad to see him come glad to see him come alive during this series. So after this series, Seattle took those 2 games. It kept them just above the Rays in the wild card race. We'll talk about that in a minute. Randy, he was a Ray from 2020 to 2024. And during the series, he had 5 hits, 4 RBIs, 3 runs, and 2 home runs. He's increased his on-bat percentage from 318 to 385. And I would say he is certainly a welcome addition to the Mariners this past week. Another old friend we saw while we visited the Mariners, that was Mr. Luke Relly. And during this series with the Rays, he had 7 at-bats and 1 hit, a double. So Luke did not have showing as Randy did. Another gentleman, former Ray we saw, was right-hand pitcher J.T. Chagua. He was with the Rays back in 2022, went to Miami with the Marlins, and the Marlins, I guess, sent him to Seattle. I can't remember what the deal was on that one. Well, Shagway pitched one inning against the Rays during the series and gave up one home run, 2 hits, and 2 earned runs. Ouch. Sorry, JT. And then there's another guy, one who I continue to watch because he's from Florida. He's not from the Rays, but he's pitching for the Mariners now. So this Florida boy's from Winter Park, Florida. It's about a 25-minute drive to Lake Mary, Florida, where the International Little League World Series champs will be celebrating their victory today. And anyway, this gentleman's name is Logan Gilbert. I guess, just heard about Logan when I was working with the folks down there at the Florida Armory. While where he was training, I heard about him. What I did find out is that, let's see. I'll read you a few notes here from the Mariners game notes. It says that Logan Gilbert here ranks among American League pitching leaders in nearly every major category, and that includes WHIP. It means quality starts. He's first in innings pitched. Let's see what else. His ERA, he's fourth with 3.21, and his strikeouts, he's sixth with 162. Logan is also tied for the MLB lead with 5 starts of 7+ scoreless innings this season. He shares that honor with Logan Webb from the Giants. Logan's 5 starts of 7+ scoreless innings are already tied for the most in a season by a Mariners pitcher since Felix Hernandez recorded 5 such starts during the 2015 season. No Mariners pitcher has recorded 6+ starts of 7+ scoreless innings in a season since Hisashi Uekuma's 7 starts in 2013. Logan is chasing the club record, 8 such starts, and that's shared by Hernandez of 2009 and Jamie Moyer from 2002. Well, think about this. I mean, he's already at 5 starts with that achievement. And will Logan be able to do it? He'll probably have 5 or 6 more starts this season. We'll see how it plays out. And that game was the second game we played with the second game of the series was actually played where we faced Logan Gilbert, and he had a hell of a performance. While we took the game 3-2, Logan Gilbert just shined. I mean, in 6 innings, he had 10 strikeouts. Whew. Now, Jeffrey Springs for the Rays, let's see, in 5 innings, he had 9 strikeouts. So both of these guys are killer. But on top of that, the Rays delivered 17 strikeouts. Now, that's across all the pitchers. And, of course, 9 of those were from Jeffrey Springs. Part of that win, came after Logan Gilbert stepped down from the mound. It was in the 7th. And there was a 2-run homer by none other than Jose Siri. In the 8th, Yandy Diaz had his 11th home run. So it was quite a day. 17 strikeouts by the Rays pitchers is a phenomenal number. And while I did watch some of the Wednesday game, it was interesting to see toward the very beginning, Junior Caminero in the first inning has a triple. And that's always exciting. Later on, we would see Josh Lowe with a solo home run. Not enough about that. Let's quit talking about the past and let's talk about what's happening this week. The Rays are back in town. They're back in the Trop. And they will be facing whom? They'll be facing, I think, the Padres and the Twins. Let's get a real scope on that, shall we? You know, with those East Coast games, I always have a hard time staying up watching the game. So wasn't surprised I found myself watching a lot of the minor league teams for the Rays. And you'd hear names that you don't hear recently with the Rays lineup, like you would hear, Carson Meade, Jonathan Aranda were just a few of the ones that popped up. Let's see, who else? Mangum, yeah. So the Rays are 6 games back. The Rays, will continue to persevere. There's no doubt. When Matt's on the show, he's a bit more optimistic than I am some days, but that's great. And one thing he keeps saying, is if we get on a winning streak and the others continue to lose, well, we've got a chance. And I don't know at what point that's no longer a viable opportunity because the Rays, like I said, there are 6 games back in the wild card race, and there's 29 games remaining in the season, with the Rays returning to the Trop for a 7-game homestand. What's that look like? Well, 3 games with the Padres, who are third in the NL West, and 4 games with the Twins, who are currently 6 games. The Twins who are currently 6 games ahead of the Rays in the American League wild card race. So that's who they're going to be facing in the 7-game homestand. Well, and then they're not going to get a break. They got to get back on the road. They've got 10 more games on the road. They're going to be facing leaders in each of their divisions. They're going to be facing the Orioles, the Phillies, and the Guardians. They're no slouches either. None of these teams. Orioles have got 77 wins at the time of recording this, and they're not leading the AL East. They're just like 1 game behind the Yankees, who hold the AL East and American League top spot. The Phillies with 78 wins, they're leading National League East by 5 games above the Braves. And the Guardians with 76 wins hold the top spot by 1 game above the Royals in the AL Central. So let's take a little closer look at those wild card woes. At the moment, again, this may be a little dated to maybe the Yankees and Orioles traded spots, but at this moment, the Yankees are leading. And the AL, well, you're going to have the division leaders. You got the Yankees, the Cleveland Guardians, and the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros are in that group with 71 wins. Now, what's interesting is at this time, the 3 teams that are listed as AL wildcard, you have Baltimore Orioles with 77 wins, Kansas City Royals with 75, and the Minnesota Twins with 72. All 3 of these teams have more wins than the Houston Astros. But if you start looking at AL card wannabes, you've got beneath the Twins, you got the Boston Red Sox, the Detroit Tigers, the Seattle Mariners, and finally the Tampa Bay Rays. Well, there's more beneath them, including the Blue Jays. So, it kind of hurts. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But to me, the most exciting thing today is the parade that will be held in Lake Mary, celebrating those young men who won the World Series. And, there was a few things about them. You would see how entertaining they could be and how amped up they were about the game and about winning. But their sportsmanship did not allow them to indulge above and beyond their opponent. As they won the game, you would see the other team fall to tears, some of these players, especially one who maybe could have kept the game going, but he missed the ball. Actually, everyone missed the ball. There was nobody there on first, was there? No, I don't think so. And all these young men many of them are in tears. And you see players from the Lake Mary team, instead of jumping up and celebrating completely, they did some of that, but they also, you would find some of the members of the team going over there and trying to give some compassion to those players who had just lost, whether they put an arm around them, patting them on the back, and even one of the coaches from Lake Mary was there as well doing that. So to me, while those young players had a great achievement winning the World Series, I would say their greatest achievement was in their humanity and compassion for their fellow opponent athlete. So kudos to all of them. And let's stop here and read off the names of all those young men. I think we should give credit to them all. The 12 players on the Lake Mary Little League team, World Series champs: Chase Anderson, Christopher Chikadroff, Lathan Norton, Hunter Alexander, J.J. Feliciano, Jacob Babald, Liam Morrissey, Louis Callow, Landon Bono, Garrett Rohosen, DeMarco Mises, and Taraj Alexander. Congratulations all for winning the World Series, and thank you again for being the great humans that you were, sharing, some compassion for your opponents. So that's pretty much it. I want to thank you all again for joining us here at Baseball Biz, and I hope you celebrate baseball every day with your little leagues, your minor leagues, and your major leagues team. The season's getting sharp, boys and girls. Only 29 games left for the Rays, and out of 162, it's getting down to it. It's getting down to the nitty-gritty. Hopefully we'll have Matt Germain back this week. Continue to follow him on X.com. You can find him at Matt, M-A-T _Germain, GERMAIN _. That's at Matt Jermaine _ So thanks again for joining us here today on Baseball Biz on Deck this week, and we look forward to talking with you guys again real soon. Special thanks to X-Take RUX for the music, Rocking Forward.